social media. I swear this shit's amusing me.
What's good, everybody? What's good? It's your boy, Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E.S. Red, if that's what you want to call me. And we are back for another one. Alright, y'all. So, the heat is gone. The heat is gone. Alright, y'all. We got a new topic for today. Let's run this down real fast. Boxing smoke. Terence Bud Crawford wants a rematch clause, preparing to lose to Errol Spence Jr. in the super fight. Alright, y'all, so let's break down this little bit of boxing news. You know, I spoke about rematch clauses like 3 or 4 videos ago, but let's revisit this topic. So what does this mean on since it's Terence Crawford who's asking for it? What does this mean on both sides? Well, to me, when it comes to Terence Crawford and a rematch clause, it can only mean one thing. Like, you're preparing yourself for what may be the inevitable. It might be your first loss. It might be a bad loss. You might get beat pretty bad. It might actually be the end of your boxing career after you face off with Errol Spence Jr. You might not get another opportunity after this fight. Well, not an opportunity for a huge money purse after this fight, depending on how you would go down. Why would he put a rematch clause in there other than preparing to lose? Well, it's an attempt to try to get his belts back if he loses as well. Because if he loses, a few things are going to happen. The stock is going to drop. Fans are going to turn. New question marks are going to come up. Everything he had prepared for the future is now has to hit the restart button, basically. So if he was preparing to fight a Charlo, you know, there's definitely no need for that at that point. You just got beat by a smaller fighter in a lesser weight class with not as stiff competition. So moving up to 154 would be pretty much a no-brainer at that point. It's not going to happen. So he'll have to basically hit the reset button on everything that he's been planning out up until now. Not only that, it's an attempt to, even if he loses, he gets the opportunity to run it back, which means he gets a second opportunity at a big money purse. So on his part, it's smart, it's necessary on his part, because like I said earlier, if he does lose, he's definitely going to have to hit the reset button on everything. Not only that, it could possibly be his cash out fights. So if he was to fight Errol Spence once, lose, he gets an automatic rematch. He would have lost all his belts at that point. So he doesn't have the WBO belt, he don't got the WBC, the IBF, or the WBA belt. So he's pretty much out of luck. But it gives him the opportunity to go back one more time, give it another shot, get you another bag of money. So if you lose the second fight, it's basically your cash out fight. You know what I'm saying? At that point, you would have just made, I'm pretty sure it'd be in the range of somewhere around 25 to 35 million dollars to cash out of the sport of boxing, and a lot of people are going to, I think a lot of people are going to take offense to me saying that, because Terence Crawford fans don't feel like, I'm pretty sure Terence Crawford fans won't feel like just because he lost, he's going to exit the sport. But me personally, I think based off his age, based off the fact it's taking so long to put the fight together, based off the fact he's demanding a rematch clause at this point, it's it's a cash out fight. I don't think he's looking at the future beyond this fight. Because once again, you know what's crazy about that? What's crazy about that rematch clause is, I spoke about this a couple of videos ago, dude. What if he's injured? Let's say Spence breaks his eye socket, or Spence breaks his ribs, or Spence, gets him into an awkward position, and he turns wrong, and Spence catches him with a punch, and he turns an ankle, messes an ankle up or something. Spence breaks a rib. Those are time-consuming injuries. And, maybe not the ankle unless he broke his ankle or something, trying to switch and then turn wrong, and Spence catches him with something, and let's just say his ankle goes out, and he breaks the ankle. Then you're talking about 6 to 8 months for that Errol Spence would have to either sit around doing nothing, waiting for Terence Crawford, or he would ultimately face up against somebody else in the meantime until Crawford gets himself together to where he can fight again. So, the rematch clause, he might not immediately retire. That's like, once again, if he gets hurt, has to sit around and wait for almost a year just to be able to get back into the boxing ring and heal his injury, then you might not see that rematch for at least a year down the line. So it might not be until 2024 that you actually get that rematch. Let's say we get this fight right at the end of this year. Errol Spence wins. Errol Spence injures Terence Crawford in the midst of winning. It would be 2024, maybe mid-2024 before we even saw a rematch. So then at that point, you got to ask yourself, does Spence just sit around waiting for Terence Crawford to come back? Or does he go after a few other bags of money in the meantime, or maybe one bag of money, the Charlo fight, the Triple G fight, depending on who wins the Triple G Canelo fight? Or does he just say, you know what, I can take, I got an automatic rematch clause, I can just take the rest of the year off, wait for Crawford to come back, that way I don't have to possibly get matched up with a Young Lion, a Boots, a Virgil, a Sandonis, someone of that nature. And at that point I would say, the rematch clause, it benefits Terence Crawford more because it could force Errol Spence to have to stick around 147 longer than he's trying to. Because I think his goal is 154 for him to end his career at 154. But if with this rematch clause that Terence Crawford is demanding, will that ultimately force Errol Spence to have to stick around 147 until mid-2024 before he can actually make a move to 154? And what would that ultimately mean? The landscape could change dramatically within a year. Charlo might get beat. Triple G might beat Canelo. Because I think he should forget about the Charlo fight. I think if he was to beat Crawford, injure him in the process, and Canelo was to beat Triple G, then I think the next biggest fight to be made would be Spence Canelo. So it's all, the landscape could change, because I don't think the Charlo fight is smart for Errol Spence. I think he should just remain friends with the Charlos and try to avoid that fight, because it's not good for neither one of them. If Errol Spence fights Charlo and Charlo beats him, it kills his upside. It kills his upside. He still would be the champion at 154, but he would be in a situation kind of like Kell Brook was when he lost to when he went up to 154 and got beat down and came back to 147, a damaged fighter. So it could be a situation to where he beats Terence Crawford, moves up, fights Charlo, gets beat, and then the rematch comes around, and then Terence Crawford beats him because he's a damaged fighter at that point. So I think it would, be smart to get the Canelo fight while he can. or it would be smart to just take the rest of the year off and wait for Terence Crawford to come back. Because if he doesn't take the rest of the year off, then that means he's going to have to defend those 147 titles. And there's some young, hungry fighters out there who could possibly, once again, maybe not beat him, but injure him to the point to where he's going to have to, when he does rematch Terence Crawford, he's not going to have the same showing. He could be a damaged fighter at that point. And possibly, even though he didn't lose to like a Virgil or a Boots, maybe they damaged him to the point where Terence Crawford, when he comes back, could actually beat him. You know, maybe his talent level is enough to beat him. So it's very dangerous, that rematch clause for Errol Spence and his next 2 to 3 years in the sport of boxing, because that rematch clause could dictate what his decision making is and how long he sticks around 147. Now he could admit, once he unifies, he does have another option, which is beating Terence Crawford, becoming undisputed at 147, and then dropping the titles, which would kill any rematch. You know, it would absolutely dead the rematch. So I don't think he could actually even do that if there's a rematch clause in there. He would have to be holding those titles. So actually his only 2 options might end up being, he might not even be able to defend his titles against a 147 fighter, like a Boots, like a Virgil. He might actually have to go to 154. His only fight might be the winner of the Triple G Canelo fight, because I really wish and hope he takes Charlo off the table. So it might end up in a situation where he can only fight Triple G in the meantime, win or lose, because it won't affect his 147 titles, being that he has to give Terence Crawford a rematch. And he has to hold those titles when he rematches Terence Crawford. I'm pretty sure they're writing that into the rematch clause. So it could be real sticky for Errol Spence to sign off on a rematch clause. If that's what he's demanding, it's almost like he's demanding that to set himself up for the future to get another bag of money. I'm speaking about Terence Crawford. And it kind of pins Errol Spence in on what he can actually accomplish after beating Terence Crawford. So it's going to be a weird situation, man. What do y'all think? Do y'all think Errol Spence should allow Terence Crawford to have that rematch clause if it makes the fight, instead of giving up a percentage of the purse, or dragging this out any longer? Or do you think Errol Spence should say, no, you got to sign the contract the way it is, no rematch clause, unless I specifically ask for a rematch in case I get beat? I'm pretty sure, which is the crazy thing, because I'm pretty sure Spence wrote in a rematch clause for himself, so I would think that would apply for both fighters, but obviously it's not, because this is what Terence Crawford is demanding at this point. According to his team, at first it was the money, now it's the rematch clause, next it'll be the venue, after that it'll be the ref, then we'll be in 2023. Anyway, so it's just dragging this whole process out. It's crappy for boxing fans. It sucks to be a boxing fan at this point, but this is the Mayweather effect on boxing. I think that's it for now. I'm done rambling. Hit that like button for me. Please subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you like the topic, definitely leave me a comment down below. What do you think? Should he allow Terence Crawford to have that rematch clause, or should he drag the negotiating process out even longer? It's your boy Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E.S. Red, if that's what you want to call me. Hit me up on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTubes. You are more than likely to get a response on YouTube than any of the other social media platforms, so hit me up there if you want a response. I think we're out of here for now. Yeah. It's your boy, and we are out of here.
I came up from crumb. I'm really from the slums.